Austin Rivers is here. You know what's interesting, Austin? In our first hour today, you told me the team you really believe in the Western Conference is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we have this breaking news this morning from our Brian Windhorst. Their star center, Karl-Anthony Towns, has a left knee injury. It is described as a meniscus injury and is out indefinitely. The team is evaluating options. Let me run through some numbers here. Towns is averaging 22 points a game. He is the second leading scorer on a team that is tied for first in the Western Conference with OKC. So Anthony Edwards has been that team's star, but Karl-Anthony Towns has been their stalwart for what feels like it's approaching a decade at this point. This is by far the best team they've had in that stretch of time. And again, the information that I'm getting, and I'm doing this real time here, is that it is an injury to the meniscus in the left knee. We do not have a definite timeline on his ability to return. This is literally information that's being given to me as we speak, so it is as hot off the presses as it can possibly be. Reaction, Austin Rivers.
This is huge. Well, first off, we have to figure out the level of the meniscus tear.
If indeed it is torn. There's now not a certainty that it is torn, just to make sure that we're clear.
If it is
that was the original information we had. Now it's not a certainty, so we're waiting to get to evaluate just how significant the injury is.
Well, if it is a significant tear, then we're looking at an entire change in the landscape of the Western Conference. He is the Batman to Anthony Edwards, the Robin. He's vital to this team. I mean, we talk about this team last year not working with the two bigs. They have figured that, equation out. 22 points per game, what he does on offense, what he does for defense just in terms of size. When we talk about Minnesota being able to compete against Denver, we talk about Rudy Gobert, we talk about Naz Reid, but of course we talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. These are guys that they have to anchor this team down. If he's not in the picture, I mean, we're talking about a whole different team here. And I love Naz Reid. That man can play, but Karl-Anthony Towns is a whole different level of a player. We're talking about an all-star.
Yeah.
So, this changes everything.
Oh, we're talking about a guy. I mean, I voted for him. I can't remember now if it was second or third team All-NBA last year. That's how good a year that he had and how good of a player he is. And, at a time in the league where we are sort of transitioning from your traditional powers, right? Like LeBron and the Lakers, Steph and the Warriors, KD and Phoenix. Like, these are the teams. Look at the top of the standings.
I know.
Denver, obviously, the defending champs, but the Thunder and the Timberwolves. So there's two ways to look at this. One of them is maybe this takes Minnesota out of the championship mix. The other is it might set up a team up at the top of the standings that isn't nearly as strong as their record would indicate if they are without him. And maybe that opens a door for one of these lower teams to pull off an early win.
You nailed it right on the head. I mean, if he's not in the picture in the playoffs, if you get a Lakers or a Phoenix or Warriors in the 8th spot, and they're going against the Minnesota Timberwolves without Karl-Anthony Towns, I mean, that's a whole different series now. Now we're looking at a probability for an upset of an 8-1. And I'm not saying the Minnesota Timberwolves can't pull it off. I know Anthony Edwards is special. He is dynamic as they come. But Karl-Anthony Towns is vital for this team's success. I was there last year with this team. We were a much better team when Karl was on the floor versus when he wasn't. And if he's not in the picture, what he adds in terms of spacing, his shooting ability, his ability to score inside and out, and then his two-man game with Anthony Edwards, it's just vital for their success. And if he's not in this picture, man, you got to think about, well, now the Warriors and these Suns and the Lakers, these teams could easily come in there and compete and beat that team.
I do not think it is criticizing Anthony Edwards or anything about that team to say you take the second most important player off any team in the NBA, and it obviously changes their outlook.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be like talking about the Bucks and Dame's out. I mean, we're talking about a whole different team now. So it's just, this is really unfortunate, man. I mean, they're having a big time year, and this has been huge for the city of Minnesota. This is the first time that they've really had this success since the era of Kevin Garnett. And, you want to see this team, and you want to see the small market teams, specifically have success, especially in the postseason. So I hope the tear is not full. I hope he's able to come back soon and compete.
Again, the word that we're getting is that it is a meniscus injury to the left knee. At first, there was some conflicting information about whether or not it was a tear. My understanding now is that it has not been confirmed. So we're waiting to see exactly what the injury is and how significant it is. And once they know that, I'm sure they'll have a sense of, is he out for the rest of the year? Is this something he can come back and play from? How much time would he need? Let's just very quickly to finish up the topic. How much time before the end of the season would he need to be able to come back? What do we have, a month left or something like that in the regular season? How much time does he need to sort of ramp himself back up there if he misses some time but is able to return?
It's tricky, man, with big men. We're talking about a lot of weight. it's always a little bit more dynamic when we're talking about a guy who weighs 250 plus pounds.
Yeah.
So this is different. They got a lot of pressure, a lot of weight on those joints and those knees. So we'll see. But Karl's a resilient guy. He's a hard worker. He's a guy that lives in the gym. I would imagine that he'll be able to come back from this pretty soon.
Let's hope that he can, because you're right. I mean, they're having a dream, like a magic carpet ride kind of season. Let's hope that it stays that way. All right, we'll get to the latest information, the really good NBA action from last night, and we'll come back to it. So, Austin Rivers, we talked yesterday about how much we both believe in the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis and company taking a 6-game win streak in to take on Golden State. Steph Curry and company coming off that disaster that we saw over the weekend. But last night, it was Steph knocking him down the fairway, quite literally. Look at Golden State, Austin, out in transition.
Yeah, they were moving the ball. It looked like last night they had a lot more pop, a lot more energy, especially coming off of that horrendous loss versus Boston.
Warriors a 20-point halftime lead again over the red-hot Bucks. And then look at Giannis stuffed not once but twice.
Hey, man, listen, Jackson had a huge game, not only on defense but on offense. He ran the floor, was great in the pick and roll. I like him with this team.
Yeah, that was Trace Jackson Davis, who you're going to see with the finish there. That was all one sequence. He blocked Giannis twice and then finished on the other end with the alley-oop. Now here's Draymond Green. When that's going, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Warriors up 25. And now here's Steph to sort of put a little ribbon on it all. Steph had 29 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Warriors cruise to a big win. There goes the Milwaukee win streak. Here's the situation in the West, okay? You see just how jammed up everybody is. I mean, the distance from 5 to 10 is basically one good week.
Yeah.
So we'll see where this thing all shakes out. So I mean, will the real Golden State Warriors please stand up? They're down 50 on Saturday night, and here they are blowing at Milwaukee. What is Steph's team right now?
It's hard to judge. On one end, we have a game like last night where they're going against the red-hot Bucks. They have a great game. It's not like Steph had a dominant performance, but it just seemed like from a team aspect, they were all around pretty solid. And then on the other end, we have a game where they lose by 50 to the Celtics. So I think right now what we need to look for is consistency in this team, to where they're getting consistent play from players other than Steph. It seemed like last night they played with good energy. Multiple guys stepped up, had games. That's what you want to see from them.
Are you a believer? I mean, they have championship pedigree.
I'm more of a believer than them than the Lakers at this point.
Really?
I think, I do, especially with the ankle injury with LeBron.
Yeah.
They had a bad loss last night to the Kings. For me, I feel right now the Warriors are tapping into a groove. They could be a dangerous team.
Well, that's interesting. We opened the show actually this morning by showing you that highlight of the Lakers getting blown out by Sacramento and LeBron limping off the court with that ankle with about 4 minutes to go. He talked afterwards like he didn't think the injury was a terrible deal. But let's get into that. So LeBron's team, which made a run from the play-in all the way to the final last year, the Western Conference final. You trust Steph's team more than you trust LeBron's team.
The only reason I say that is just because this team was in a similar spot last year. So to ask them to do the exact same thing again is a lot, especially on what is this, year 21 for LeBron. To ask him to do this again and put this team on his shoulders just seems a little bit too much for me. Whereas the Warriors, it seems like this whole year they've been kind of lacking, but now they're starting to tap in. Steph has a guy named Jonathan Kuminga, a young player who he knows he can rely on, who's shown that he has the capability to be a big-time second option. So, neither of these teams I have contending in the West, but, if I have to pick a team who I think can get out of the play-in, make the playoffs, make a little run, I'd have to go with the Warriors.
We could live in a world, I don't expect it, because I think the Suns are going to get hot, but we could live in a world where LeBron, Steph, and KD are all in the play-in.
If that doesn't tell you that the NBA is changing in a new direction, I don't know what else does.
Young stars. And of those three, the one we believe in the most, their team this year is?
Anthony Edwards. I like Minnesota.
Oh, okay. So we're going away from all of the superstars, or the older guys I'm talking about.
No, I like many. I know that's a little, people aren't talking about them as much, but that team is serious. With their size and their defensive capabilities, I think Minnesota can cause problems for Denver.
He is the real thing. Okay, stay close by,
My God.
Austin. We'll have much more hoops as we continue. And in the meantime, let me show you who had some serious flavor last night. D. Wood, brought to you by Hidden Valley Ranch. Here's your guy, SGA.
Hey, there he is.
You love him.
Oh yeah, that's my guy. That's my MVP right there. He's my GOAT right now.
37 points in the Thunder's win over the Blazers. They've won 8 straight at home. He has 46 30-point games this season. That is one shy of the franchise record held by Kevin Durant. Kevin